Welcome to memoQ Talks, where we talk to industry leaders about their experiences, lessons learned, and what works best across all areas of localization. Now here's your host.
Hey Ulrich, how are you?
Hi Mark, perfectly fine. How are you?
Awesome. I'm in Montenegro and it's been rainy all day, and I looked out the window right now and the sun just came out. And how is the weather where you are?
Same here. I'm at the Atlantic coast of France. It's most of the days it's raining, and today it's the first, at least afternoon around noonish. Sun came up, and then its temperature is rising to 15 degrees. So the perfect moment to do a recording like this one.
Excellent. What? How far are you from the water?
I can hear the waves. Actually, it's 600 meters max, or even less. And we have high tide, so it's extraordinary high tide. So it's eating up the dunes and everything.
Actually, I mean, yesterday, so I'm very close to the beach here as well. And last night was a super high tide in the Budva here. I couldn't believe how, because the sidewalks that run along the waterway were all flooded. And that's the first time I've seen that. Are the beaches there, are they sandy, rocky, or what?
Both.
Okay. Nice.
Sandy and rocky.
Awesome. Well, hey, I would love to talk more about the beaches and the weather and all that, but what we're here to do on memoQ Talks is to talk about how these days just selling a product or service really isn't enough. Organizations need to kind of provide additional value add in terms of information, a community, and events that kind of foster those things. And so we're going to kind of walk through, because you're involved with several different events and communities in related to memoQ. We're going to walk through some of those. And I want to start off with one that I think is probably, I think maybe you initiated it, but is definitely one of the most innovative in the organization. It's the Consultants Roundtable.
Yeah.
And maybe you can just talk a little bit about how that started and why we do that.
That's thanks for asking. I had the idea almost in the first year I started working for memoQ. That's more than 5 years ago. Thinking of there are, at least in the German-speaking market, there is a bunch of consultants, 6-7 people or enterprises. Some of them working as LSPs as well. Some of them are not or less LSPs, but offering consultancy as well. And I was thinking of how to deepen the cooperation. And in the very first moment, internally, I had some people who really loved their idea, but others that were saying, but how could we convince those independent consultants to only suggest memoQ as a solution for enterprises they are in contact with? And I told those guys at memoQ, that's not the reason why we try to deepen and enhance and improve our cooperation. It's far more of those consultants are getting into touch with enterprises at a very early stage of that enterprise looking for a new tool. Mm-hmm. Most of those potential clients for us, we are not aware of that they are looking for a new tool. So, and I experienced that some of those consultants are not really aware of the newest invented features in memoQ or what changed. So some of them presented memoQ as purely CAT tool. It's not. It's a TMS. So there was a quite significant lack of information on the one hand side, and as well, given the really specific atmosphere and cooperation, the human touch in that industry, I thought of having being a good idea of inventing and starting with the Consultant Roundtable. It's happening 4 times a year. If you want, would you like me to add some more
yes, please.
Numbers?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's quite unique, and I'll tell my impressions when I first observed it or participated. But please, go ahead and you can talk about the frequency, but also the format, because it's not just the consultants talking. You have the memoQ people coming in and sharing and collecting information, and it's very, very, what's the word, collaborative.
Yeah.
Please.
And sometimes even it's not confrontative, but they're very vivid. You do something, have a different take on different things. So it's happening 4 times a year. It's taking 3 hours usually. So it's quite a long time remotely. And that's something. By now we have 7 consultants. It's not only German market. We added somebody from the Netherlands as well, and trying to expand it as well. And then we are presenting new features, roadmap discussion. In the very beginning, we've had a presentation of the strategy by our co-CEO, Peter Reynolds. And then you go more and more and deeper into discussions. So sometimes you even have a discussion whether we think something is really needed in the market, and the consultants give you feedback, and then they say, no, not that much. So that's kind of really interesting. And as said, it's very vivid, and a lot of colleagues from the company, like production and our business services team delivering customization, they are keen to join because it's a really open discussion about things. And the reality is kind of different than we think it is from our internal and biased view.
I totally agree. And like, so where should I start? In terms of our perception, and oftentimes it's different. I think that's why it's really important for, leaders in any organization to go out on customer sales calls and customer visits, or whether it's virtually or in person, because we think that, we're delivering a service and it's being used in a particular way. But when you go out and you talk to real customers, you find out that maybe their needs are different. The market dynamics are different. Things change. They might have particular questions and so on and so forth. But let me back up a little bit. I think you invited me to the roundtable discussion, and then I missed the first one. I'd been in memoQ maybe 6 months, and I was in the second one, I believe it was. And I was on a road trip, and I'm out in the middle of Idaho driving to, and I call in, and I'm just going to listen to this thing. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be another one of these kind of, just business meetings. I had to stop. I pulled over in the next town and just stopped there for 3 hours, the 2.5 hours, to listen to the whole thing, because there was so much valuable information being shared. And it was like these consultants, like who you said, who are working with a lot of different enterprises and some enterprise customers, they're saying, hey, this is what we need. Or, hey, this is a way, like one consultant I remember was saying, hey, we have a challenge with this. And then like 2 other people, virtually raised their hand and said, hey, here's what we're doing to solve that problem.
Yeah.
And basically, because, I don't care where you're at or what job you are, you can always benefit from having an open conversation with peers. And that's what I heard. And then I learned probably more in that 3-hour call than I did in maybe 2 or 3 months of just normal day-to-day business, because it was like this condensed down, and then we had, our product team come in and talk about the roadmap and so forth. And so it was very, very helpful and useful. So, yeah.
And let me add, it's as well, those people, they know each other. And as said, it's this kind of industry, I joined 5 years ago or 5.5 years ago. I spent 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry in sales. And the industry, localization industry, is completely different. So people know each other, and they are kind of family. That's not meaning they are always friendly or they are only sharing friendly words. They are sharing their opinion. And it's kind of, you talk to them, and if you talk openly, you get an open and transparent response. That's and still respectful. That needs to be mentioned as well. So it's extremely valuable. And whenever people think of no, they are not going to share insights, it's not true. They are happy to share insights. We do have, as a prerequisite, we do have an NDA with all of those. So they sometimes they are sharing internal information. And besides the event itself, by now I succeeded in establishing a business relationship with those consultants even if there's an RFP and somebody is in that involved in that RFP, there's the option to get some insights. Still, for sure, that whatever can be shared, that's shared. So, but it's not, usually you don't get that information, kind of. So that's extremely helpful. And even with a hint telling me, okay, there might be an RFP coming up, you need to focus on this, on that. That's really extremely valuable. And if you're selling or trying to sell a product to their clients, that's not the cheapest one. So you're not selling by the lowest price. You need to add additional value to it. So either by, like this event, like meeting 4 times a year, and they know they can rely on us. They know that we are not spreading fake news or anything like that. So it's an open and very constructive discussion.
And we don't charge anything for it. So I think it's an amazingly valuable experience, and I from both sides. I think we learn from them, they learn from us, and they learn from each other. So it's a win-win all the way around. Another one that I know that. So we did our first memoQ day in Seattle last year. memoQ has memoQ days, in many different locations. Have you done any in your region?
Yeah, 3. Last year we've had 3. One in Bonn, the former capital of Germany, one in Amsterdam, and the third one in Stuttgart, southern part of Germany. That's a good sample as well but that's an event that's completely different from the Consultant Roundtable. memoQ Day, I'd like to call it the little brother of memoQfest. Perhaps we could say a word about memoQfest, but that's in the localization industry. I guess it's almost most of the people know about.
We're coming to that. We're going to talk about memoQfest. That's we're building up to the crescendo.
Okay. So memoQ Day, it's locally, it's half a day. It's about, we have 4 to 5 presentations, or either covering a new feature or a new release, having with something really cutting edge, or as well best practices. And that's usually the presentations are on site by people showing up internally or external. For instance, that's that's a connection with the Consultant Roundtable, because the very first memoQ Day in Bonn last year in springtime, we lacked of a presenter, and I just called one of the consultants. He showed up on short notice, 5 days, and that's something excellent. You build up a really good business relationship, and then you can ask for a favor. And that guy showed up presenting really interesting stuff. At least we've had 2 consultants presenting. So memoQ, but the memoQ Day is more for existing clients, and we try to invite as well potential leads. We are showing something about roadmap, as mentioned, or new features, and that's one of the rare occasions you get into touch in person, because usually almost 100% of our job is done remotely. Only like now on a Teams or Zoom or whatever tool used basis or platform, and that meeting in person makes a complete difference, because you talk to people, they are interested, you get in touch with the people. So that's very valuable. It's taking quite an investment when it comes to time, when it comes to money as well, budget, because it needs to be a nice hotel, not the super fancy ones, but a nice hotel, and you just grab something to eat, and you have some gadgets and giveaways, but still it's worth it. So we've had worldwide last year 11 of those memoQfests, and the smaller ones 10, 15 people, and the biggest one, as far as I know, in Seoul in South Korea, with 120 attendees.
Wow.
So that was super.
That's awesome. I mean, we look at it as like, this is an opportunity to deepen the relationship with our customers. It's also an opportunity, as you said, to reach out to new prospective customers. It's an opportunity to get feedback from us. And it's also an opportunity to connect our customers. And so the event that we had in Seattle, I think we had, close to 30 something people there. And what was really cool about that, okay, the speakers, we had Tucker from Nimsy came in and gave the kind of the opening address. And then we had technical presentations related to how these companies were using memoQ in the context of their business. So we had somebody from Amazon Game Studios, and we had somebody from Dynamic Language, and it's interesting because everybody uses a tool like this way every day, and then you see another company that's using it slightly different, and you're like, oh, we haven't even thought about that. We could use LiveDocs to help us with that problem or something like that. It's really cool. There were 3 or 4 ladies that drove 4 hours. No, it's about 3 hours from Hanford in Washington to come over to Seattle. And they said, hey, we've been using memoQ for years, but our organization doesn't give us budget to go to Gala, Loc World, those kind of events. And so for them to be able to come and talk to other memoQ users and kind of experience that, they were just so happy. And I just think, again, it's, for us, yes, of course, we're trying to sell and we're trying to deepen our relationship, but it's nice because it is a community too, right?
Yeah. And that's our experience last year as well. Some people traveling 4 hours by car just to show up for a 3-4 hours event. And afterwards I asked, and they said, yeah, it was absolutely worth it. So we'll come again. So that's something you need. It's excellent. And even as you said, some of those leads we've had last year, the situation, a lead showing up, and then they got into touch with one of our biggest clients, super experienced. And later on they met and they were talking, and the lead went for memoQ due to the feedback from the existing client. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And even those existing clients, they like to talk to other companies and other people because it's, as said, it's kind of family, and they like and love to share their experiences as well. So it's super fruitful.
Absolutely. Well, you referenced earlier memoQfest, and I think this is like one of the biggest in our part of the industry. It's one of the biggest events out there. It's a 2-day event every year, and we typically get a couple hundred people. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, if I love to, but I still want to not to forget to mention one other roundtable I'm hosting. It's we can do later on, or because 5 minutes ago I received an email, and that was kind of an excellent example what benefit you can get out of a roundtable event. So which one should I start with?
I will go ahead. Let's talk about this one.
So we've had
last week.
Yeah, later. Last week we've had another Enterprise Roundtable. Enterprise Roundtable that's started 1.5 years ago after the experiences with the Consultants Roundtable. We do have 7 enterprises from the German-speaking markets and representing 500,000 turnover in licenses. And we had last week a discussion about revamping one of our products, and one of the colleagues from memoQ showed up, wanted to discuss the options, perhaps a use case, whatever. And okay, it was, let me put it that way, in a friendly way, it was a funeral first class. So nobody was really intending to join, and they didn't like the idea either. And it was interesting because that's one of our biggest clients at all. And he sent an email. I hope you weren't disappointed from last week's discussion. And then he went into a long and extensive explanation what and why and how they would like to envision or how they would like to proceed. And without that kind of investment, because he started thanking me for the investment and offering that platform and the additional information. And then he gave me feedback and insights you never, ever receive from anybody without that kind of platform. So it's worth investing in it, even after last week's experience, which, as I call it, funeral first class. It might even be okay. Something might derive of it. So it's not. So it's absolutely worth. And talking about memoQfest, as stated initially, I have a 25 years experience in pharmaceutical industry as a head of a sales team of more than 100 people. I attended a lot of events, but an event like memoQfest, I never ever saw in that period of time. Never. It's a mixture of high-level information, master classes, high-level discussions and talks and presentations from everywhere. Even some competitors, CEOs from competitors are showing up and telling the audience. It's a 3 days. In the past, it was 3 days event in Budapest with high-end locations. So that in the evening, you have really, really great events like in the opera and with a personal touch I've never seen before. So that's something, whenever somebody in the industry has the chance to go there because it's a once in a lifetime event. I love it. I really love it. And it's worth. And it's another sample. You need to add or offer additional content and additional services like a memoQfest, because it's not only a product. It's always product plus X. You need to add more of it, and that, as said, it's family, and that family feeling is at memoQfest. It is extraordinary. People showing up and hugging each other. So that's really something special.
What I like again is I've been in some sessions where again it's people asking questions. How do you I have a problem. And sometimes we memoQ don't have the answer, but I've seen it multiple times where other memoQ customers raise their hand and say,
"Yeah,
we have an answer. This is how we do it." And it's like that community and that collaboration is so important, because we networked learning is so much more powerful than just siloed organizations trying to figure it out on their own. So it has that kind of, like what you said, that family feeling too, where everybody's, hugging and friends and stuff. And I got to tell you a quick story. So, Alessio, who was at memoQ for 4 years and now is, joined me with memoQ RFP. One of the things that we had to negotiate was he's like, I want to go to memoQfest. I was like, all right, we'll go. So he's going to be there. He's going there because he has so many friends there, so many customers, and he may even be presenting something in terms of what we're doing that could help localization companies. So it's a great event, yeah. And so let me ask you this, because actually, you've helped me. One of the things when I joined memoQ, I was actually asked to come in. This is just another example of, sharing information and building a community. So I was asked to kind of expand our presence in the life sciences industry. And one of the programs we worked on was the Life Sciences Roundtable discussion, right? Yeah. And I think we've had 4 of them, all different panelists, different discussions. And that's completely remote, but there's a lot of value and information being shared there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as well, you have the audience is asking questions, so you have as well a good discussion with a lot of things going on. So that's an additional value we have, and we are offering our clients as well. And it's a lot of effort for you. So you need to organize, you need to find somebody showing up as a panelist and being willing to discuss different topics. But still, I think it's absolutely worth it. And I'm always happy to join and always happy to assist and support a bit in the discussion part. It's a lot of learnings as well.
Yeah, the first event that we did was successful because of your connections and relationships that you were able to bring into the panelists. The most memorable one for me was the last one we did, where I think we had 5 panelists because we were talking about clinical trials, and everybody was so smart about their part of the business, and everybody wanted to contribute. And it was like, you know what? 2 hours is not enough. We need more time here.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing. Whatever event you start, you start like the Consultants Roundtable, Enterprise Roundtable, memoQfest. A lot of people are willing and waiting to contribute. They like to share it. In the very first time, people in the first discussions about those roundtables, people at memoQ, some of them were saying, yeah, but they don't want to share anything. No, they want to share. They are really willing. They are supportive. Even if sometimes you need to be a bit cautious if it's a direct competitor. So having two direct competitors in one roundtable, that's kind of tricky, except when it comes to consultants. It's no problem because, they are competing, but they know each other. And most of them are in the same age. So, they know each other for decades. So it's interesting. And as you said, it's with the roundtables, with the interviews, that's something excellent.
The last thing I want to touch on is, and then I have some other questions for you, but is the memoQ Talks podcast. Because for me, I love doing this because I was given this platform. Chetamir and I created it. And then we were given this platform of just talk to industry subject matter experts and do a deep dive in terms of what they're doing. And so, we've talked to people about transcription and subtitling, and we talk to people about, what's going on in life sciences. But even there, we go into narrow areas, and we talk to salespeople, we talk to marketing people, and it's like Charles Campbell, talking to him about Vamos Juntos, and it's really, for me, super enjoyable. But it's another way for us to, again, connect the community and share information. And a lot of times the subjects are very lightly kind of addressed, but it's for me, it's nice to have a venue where we can kind of do a deep dive.
Yeah.
Like today,
exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because, you're leading a sales team that covers, is it 4 countries? 5 countries?
No more. It's Benelux. So Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, plus Germany, Austria, Switzerland, plus New Zealand and Australasia.
Is that all?
Yeah. For now, we're working on more.
Do you notice any differences in terms of the sales approach for different countries? And can you, if so, can you give some examples?
It's kind of, that's a very interesting question. Yes, there are differences. It's, for instance, if you're talking about German-speaking market, mainly in Austria and Germany, for instance, machinery or machinery enterprises. And that's completely different because you can't approach them. So, and they come and at the last event in November, TECOM in Stuttgart, some of them even show up. They don't tell their name or the company's name. They are completely incognito. And whenever you try to ask and try to convince them, would you like to have a demo? Would you like, no, don't. So, they are not shy because once it comes to negotiating the terms, that's really something you need to it's more of a fight than a negotiation with them. When it comes to Belgium or Switzerland, people are completely different. By Switzerland, it's depending. You do have that Italian part of Switzerland and the French part and the German part. So you even have in Switzerland, you have different mentalities and approaches. And Australia, that's a bit complicated due to the time zone difference. That's sometimes, and they are kind of for now mostly with governmental structures. It's a bit bumpy, but that's kind of, I've no idea yet, but there are differences in the approach of people. And the worst ones are procurement guys. That's German machinery procurement.
Every country's the same.
No. I've never experienced that kind. What I experience in Austrian or German machinery procurement people, that I never experienced anywhere else. Really never. So it's Netherlands or Belgium. That's completely different. That's kind of, there's that rule set for them. They start with really. You're bad meaning, and whatever you must not show any kind of flaw or any. They jump in and you said this or that. So even people, I remember once having a meeting with the procurement guy, and he in the 101 meetings before he was super friendly. A colleague from my team was joining as well, so not 101, three of us. And then with the rest of his team, that lead, he was completely different. So my colleague was texting me via Teams directly. What's happening? What happened with this guy? He was completely different, showing up like a bad, angry, grumpy man, just to lower prices, receive a higher discount.
It was a negotiation kind of, okay. Yeah. I mean, we're getting into a whole other subject, but that is one of the challenges when, if you're talking to the users, or the stakeholders, and the conversation will be very much focused on the product or service, the features, the benefits. When it shifts over to procurement, too often it shifts towards price, right? And then price is, what really is price? Because, you may be able to pay less, but maybe that's going to inhibit your productivity at the end, right? So you might pay less, but you're going to in the end end up paying more, or you're going to get less, right? But sometimes they don't have the subject matter expertise in terms of the workflows and everything to understand that. So what do you do in those situations?
I'm always running in the wrong, making the same mistake, because I'm telling upfront, bluntly and transparently what's in pricing. So that's something nobody does usually. I tell them, listen, you're going for a small license pool. The only thing I can give is it's kind of a small discount on if you go for a longer period than 1 year. And then procurement guys from machinery, they don't like that way. But they tell me, we are too small for you. I'm thinking of, but probably it's too late, changing that behavior, because in 25 years in pharmaceutical industry, and I did a lot of negotiations with mail delivery pharmacies as well, and they knew, okay, that guy is not giving any discount. Mm-hmm. So I remember what I'm doing. First, I need to make up my mind, what's the limit for me? And then I approach, and I'm not selling by discount. I guess I'm really horrible for my counterparts when it comes to discount. So I have an idea, and there's a maximum, and you get me to the maximum, and that's a low discount compared with my colleagues quite early. And then I'll tell them there's no more. And sometimes then we leave you. And I say, okay, then you leave. But that's my final word. And once people know you like this, and they know, okay, there's not more in it, they accept it, and that's fine. So, but still, it's then you know where my white hair comes from. That's from negotiating with procurement.
We both have white hair.
Yeah, you have a long history in sales as well. Yeah, but that's exactly.
And I'm just hoping that no procurement people, especially from the machine industry, listen to this podcast. They probably won't. But one thing, I guess, one takeaway on this that we can kind of wrap things up with is that there are nuances and differences in sales. As an American, my typical style is to go in and ask a lot of questions and be very interactive. Like, hey, I want to understand as much about your situation as possible, and then I will introduce a solution. But in some countries, and throughout Japan, for example, you rarely, especially, you rarely get to that kind of point in the first few meetings. Like a lot of times, first meetings will be 45-minute presentation about our company was founded when, how many people in our company, how much our capitalization, how many it's just, and then when they start to feel comfortable, they might kind of open up a little bit. But it takes a few meetings sometimes, especially pre-COVID. So I think there are definitely differences. And then when we put procurement off to one side, that's always a different kind of conversation because they're very oftentimes, as you said, focused on numbers. But one thing that I think that in every country or every market, we can agree, these value add communities and events that we're talking about are widely, accepted and appreciated. And I think the best example was South Korea, which is a relatively small and newer market for us. We don't have an office there. We have a team that sells and services our Korean customers. But, to have 100+ people show up at a memoQ day is amazing, right? And so it shows that, people want to learn and they want to be part of a community of other users so they can share information. And I think it's really important that we do that. And, the work that you and your team has done with the Consultant Roundtable, the Enterprise Roundtable, the memoQ days, that's in your specific areas has been amazing. So, yeah, man, good job.
Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure. It's kind of, it's always a bumpy adventure as well. But at the end of the day, as I said, receiving that kind of really open feedback from the Enterprise Roundtable participant, that's excellent. And that's something, okay, it's paying off even, and I like it. So
let me ask you this, because we both have the same color hair. And a lot of people get this color hair and they think, oh, that means I'm wise and I don't need to keep learning. But I'm a big advocate of always be learning. And I know you are as well. And you're also very physically active, riding your bike and doing other things. What advice would you give to sales professionals or business people that want to kind of, basically, how do you keep learning new things? These events are one way, right? I mean, because you're interacting with people, but what are some other things that you do?
First of all, stay curious. Always ask questions. There are not too many questions to be asked, but you need to be really interested. So that's something you can ask and ask and ask if you are interested. And if you go deeper into it, if you just ask to click a box, then don't do it. So I love talking to people, and I really love, and that's once it's so interesting. Sometimes I just jump and into a discussion, and then I get like discussing about the people traveling to Brazil or having a specific preference when it comes to restaurants. And then you dive into it, and you need to know some things so you can really communicate with them. So be curious and love people. That's important. Love people. Love to communicate, and that's helping a lot.
I think that's awesome advice. All we need is love.
Yeah, that's
we could make a song. Oh, wait a minute. Some band.
It's already done. It makes
all you need is
to hear the tone.
So, hey, Ulrich, thank you so much for coming on memoQ Talks. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship and being a colleague with you, and wish you the best for the remainder of the spring here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you for joining memoQ Talks, where we talked with industry leaders about their experiences and lessons learned to gain new insights about what works best across all areas of localization. Join us next time on memoQ Talks.